Hello everyone. Today we'll be discussing about the Python exception solution for the Hackerearth assessment held on May 23rd. So the first question is weak password. You have to write a program to obtain the user details. If the password entered by the user satisfies the following conditions, you have to print valid. Else, we have to raise an exception and print invalid. The password is said to be strong if it satisfies the following criteria. It should contain at least one digit and it should also contain at least one special character. We have to create a user class with the following attributes: name, mobile, username and password. Use a constructor to initialize the attributes, and we have to write a display method, and display method should check the username and password. So if the password is valid, it should print valid. If the password is invalid, then it should raise an exception and print invalid. So this is the sample input. So the input is a space separated value, and the output format is just printing whether the password is valid or invalid. Now let us just dive into the solution. So we have to create a user class. So I've created a user class and we have the constructor here, and we are initializing the attributes of the class, so name, mobile, username and password, and we have to declare display method. So I'm using RE module, which is the regular expression module, to check the pattern. So for that, as in the question, it was given that it should contain at least one special character and it should contain at least one number. So for special characters, I'm compiling a pattern. So this is my pattern to be compiled. So I'm including all the special characters. Then regex num, here I'm just compiling a pattern which has only numbers, so 0 to 9 plus. So plus indicates one or more occurrence of a particular number. If it is a star instead of plus, then it means 0 or more occurrence. Then I'm invoking in the try clause, so I'm checking if my regex matches with the password and the special regex also matches with the password. So if both conditions are satisfied, then I'm printing val. So there are several ways to implement this particular validation. So I've used this one. So there are another methods called a regex match method. You can use that method also to check it. So this is a pretty easy one, so I've used this method. So regex num dot search of password, it will match your regex num pattern with that of the password. If it is valid, then it will return true, and if regex special dot search with the password, it will check for the special characters in the password. If it matches, it will return true. If both are true, then print valid. Otherwise we will raise an exception. So here I'm going to raise a simple value error, and in the exception I'm going to print invalid. And this is the user input. So here I'm going to read the number of data, and since each data is a space separated value, I'm going to use split function. And for each data I'm invoking the I'm creating the instance of user class, then I'm invoking the display method. Now let us check this with our sample test case. So I'm going to copy our test case. I'm going to copy it, then I'm going to paste it in my console. Right. So invalid, valid, valid. So why is the first case invalid? Because it does not contain a special character. The second case, it contains a special character, it contains one number, so more than one number is there, and it also contains the alphabets, hence it is valid. Similarly, this third one and the fourth one. Right. So I believe we have understood the solution for this particular question. Now let us take a look at the second question. The second one is input mismatch. So generally whenever there is an input mismatch, in the last discussion itself we saw that a value error will be raised. So here the same way a value error occurs when an input the input of different values is given other than the required value. So in common practice it occurs when a string or a double data type is given for an int value. So we have to obtain an integer value from the user and display the obtained input. If no value error occurs, then we have to prompt the user. So look at the sample input. So sample input, they are just reading. If it is a string other than an integer, then it will print it will print valid. So if you are reading an integer, it will print valid. If it is a string, it will print invalid. So it is very, very simple. It is a single condition. Let us just dive into the solution for this question. So here, say I'm reading the input for each range. I'm reading the value which is an integer value. If it is an integer, then I will print valid. Otherwise, here itself in this line itself an exception will occur. A value error will be raised. So it will come here and it will print invalid. So I'm going to use the copy. I'm going to copy the sample input. I'm going to open my console and paste it. Right. So I'm getting the output. So Kathy is invalid because it is a string. Andrew is invalid. It is a string. 766 is valid because it is an integer value. So exception handling in Python is a pretty easy one. So I believe that you have understood the solution for this. So thank you for joining the discussion.